Here we have a plasma fire that, according to this title, 2 towns burned to the ground due to human negligence. But anyone who's been watching my channel for a while knows that that's not the case from this single image alone that was used as the thumbnail for this video. Notice the trees are still standing in between all the structures that burn. We'll go over some of the still frames from this video. Tree right next to the burning building. It's one of the hallmarks of plasma fire when it strikes an urban area. Trees everywhere in between the burning structures. The structures that have metal wiring in them are more conductive to the electricity that is the plasma fire phenomenon, a type of electricity. Underground lightning, it's been called. So back to this original image, you can see these houses all started burning simultaneously. It did not spread from one house to the next house to the next house. The ones that are still on fire look like they're all about 90% burned, fully engulfed, and they all started and ended at the same time. And all of the foliage in between the houses is still standing. Notice this tree right at the corner of that house. This tree right at the corner of that burning house. This tree right at the corner of that burning house, and this one that's literally standing up in the middle of the flames. You can see the flames touching the bottom of the tree in this image. And those 2 trees that are both in close proximity to the burning house. So it was everything but the forest that burned, yet people refer to these types of events like forest fires. We saw the same thing in Paradise, California, where all the houses are burned to white ash. This one, you'll notice the structure is sitting right in the middle of ground scorch, is the term that I've coined, that happens during these plasma fires. Likewise with this other structure that still remains while surrounded by ground scorch. Maybe those buildings didn't have any wiring in them. For whatever reason, this is also part of the plasma fire phenomenon. One house will be burned clear to the ground, while the one next to it, as in this photo, this house still stands. The house on either side of it burned to the ground. Yet this house still has ground scorch in the backyard. And each one of these square lots that you see, this was a home. On the other side of that house, this was a home. Same thing on the other side of the street, yet you still have trees standing everywhere. As well as telephone poles or power line poles, but I don't see any line going between the poles. So it makes me wonder. Either way, they were as unaffected by the fire as the trees. It was only the structures, structural buildings, that burned in this fire. This one's curious. That's the burnt out house right there. And all along the edge, all along the perimeter, unburned foliage. Just like all the others. This one's curious. This is the sawmill that they say was where it started, because unsafe burning at a sawmill. You can see this is a line of logs that goes clear down and around here, around the corner. For some reason, the logs stopped burning right there. Maybe it's because the firemen put their hoses on it right there. But between this point over here and this point over here is these green trees in between that are surrounded by ground scorch. Yet they remain unburned. They did not burn to the ground. Curious. Again, with all the trees that are still standing, and the structures in between them that burned to the ground. Here you can see the tree standing right next to the burning structure. Here you can see the line. Oh, yeah, right here's better image. The line that divides the ground scorch from the unburned area. And even in the area with all the ground scorch, there's lots of trees still standing. And every spot where you see a white square, that was a building that is now burned to the ground. And beside all of those buildings are trees that are still standing. Definitely a plasma fire, 100%. We saw the same pattern in Paradise, California, where one house will be left standing and untouched, while the one next to it is burned to the ground. And then that pattern would go on. One house burned to the ground, the next one untouched. The next house burned to the ground, the next one untouched. But again, the trees that usually are touching the house, or at least overhanging the house for shade. That's how it usually works. People plant trees right next to the house, yet the house burns to the ground and the trees remain standing. So this was definitely a plasma fire. Telephone poles or power lines and trees remain untouched. Structural buildings burnt to the ground. And they all started simultaneously. You can tell by the degree to which they're burnt. When they're all burnt at the point of fully engulfed and about 90% gone, that means they all ignited at the same time. I feel like a broken record at this point, but all the trees are still standing in that photo. This is where the structure burned. This is where a structure burned. And anywhere else, that was a home right there. That's a lot. Anywhere that you see it burned to white ash on the ground, that was a home. What I was trying to say is that this house right here is not burning, and this house right here is not burning, but the one in between the two is burning. And this house on the corner has both of his neighbors currently burning to the ground, yet his house is untouched. That must be Lucky Larry Silverstein. Yeah, we're on you. We're on it.